Good morning, everyone. Welcome to tea time. I am at Fell Timber Farm in the Snowy Mountains from my last week here in Australia. And let's see if I can get this right so you guys can see me and you're not too blinded by the sun. Welcome to all of you guys who are watching this in real time. Welcome to anyone who catches it later. I'm feeling very, very fortunate for all the time I've had here in Australia this year. And looking back at all of the clinics I've gotten to teach and all of the people and the horses I've got to learn from, and just thinking about what it is that I want to talk about for this tea time. I was in a conversation the other day with someone and we were talking about using your powers for good or evil, and it sort of stuck with me. We all have a remarkable amount of power in relationships that is built from a million tiny interactions. And this is something I think we often don't think about. We often don't acknowledge how powerful we are shaping the patterns and the habits of others. So, of course, I use this with horses predominantly. And this is something that I always say, it works equally well with people, but it's a lot more fun to learn in the company of horses. It's a lot more fun to practice in the company of horses. And this is, honestly, as a horse trainer who has spent a lot of time asking horses to do things in a very direct way, when I start thinking about the power I have in all of the tiny interactions, I have more through the internet. We're going to see if, oh, there we go. We're going to catch on again. I'm going to get a little bit closer to my internet and hopefully we won't blip out for you guys. So if we think about our quantitative actions, all of the tiny things that we do that make an impact on the relationships around us, we have quite a bit of power. We have quite a bit of power to shape and change the individuals around us. I love it. We've got a good group here gathering for tea time. Thank you, Barbara. I am feeling very, very fortunate to be here in the Snowy Mountains and spending my last week in Australia here. So thank you, Fell Timber Farm. Thank you for hosting me. And I have been studying horses. I've been out since early morning before dawn watching the herds and developing my understanding, because that's what I do. When I'm not teaching, I am doing my best to continue learning. So what does this mean to use your powers for good, not evil? We are incredibly powerful in the quantitative responses we make to our horses. So when do they get more attention from us? What even is attention? This is something that I study, because what you give them attention for, they remember. And what they remember, they repeat. So if you can give attention for good behaviors, and when I say good behaviors, what I mean is behaviors that benefit the group, not just the individual. So when I say, are you going to use your powers for good or evil? I find that if you are using your powers to benefit an individual, probably yourself, more than the good of the group, you might be using your powers for evil, because this hyper independence, or everybody who is performing for an individual, tends to be where we see that using the powers for evil scenario. So if we want to use our powers for good, we need to think about reinforcing things that are for the good of the herd, for the good of the masses, as it were. What behaviors help everybody have more friends, help everybody interact better with each other? And this is what I study. So I study it when I watch interactions between horses. I study it when I watch interactions between humans and horses, and I study patterns. So the littlest things that we do, if we do them in a cumulative way, where we do the little things over and over and over again, we have incredible power that we often don't realize we have. So I encourage people to notice the little things. So you're probably wanting a concrete example here. A concrete example is when you pause. So when you go from being active or different from the horses to when you pause to be exactly like them. This is one of your primary markers. When you pause to be exactly like the horse, they're going to tend to remember whatever behavior caused you to do that. And that is really powerful. So reconnect. Okay, I'm back. I might cut this tea time a little bit short. My internet seems a little bit on and off, but I'm going to finish my thought here. And that is that if you get bitten by a horse and you pause, they're going to remember that behavior. So if you pause every time you get bitten, you're going to find you have a horse that bites more and more often. Not because they want to bite, just because that was the behavior that was marked. And that was the behavior they remember. And they tend to repeat behaviors they remember. If you pause every time your horse runs to you because you just really like the behavior of them running to you, that's going to feel like a really good thing. You're going to get a behavior you want. But then you end up getting into situations where on a good day they run to you, on a bad day they run over you. And then you got to get into a lot of boundary setting. So how do we develop the mindset in our horses that they want to interact well, not just the behaviors that we can use? And this is really what I'm talking about when you are thinking about, do I use my powers for good or for evil? If we can mark mindset moments, so the moments that our horses are feeling more interested, more curious, more engaged, more cooperative, and mark those mindset moments, we're going to see more and more of that behavior. If we skip over the mindset moments and we start marking the behaviors, the horse coming to, or going to come back, here we are, I'm back again. All right, hopefully this will stitch together better than I think. We're going to keep this tea time fairly short. I don't have really strong internet here, but I did want to have a little bit of a tea time talk with you guys. The long and the short of this is we really want to mark behaviors that are cognitive and thoughtful and emotive. So if we mark the cooperative behaviors of our horse where they are thinking, they're using their five senses in harmony with others, we are using our power for good. When we get a little bit hurried and we want to just mark a physical behavior, the horse running to us, the horse snuggling with us, the horse wanting a kiss, the horse letting us hug them, there's all sorts of behaviors that my students will often want, but those behaviors are more push or pull than they are cooperative and peaceful. So when we start marking behaviors that are more push and pull, we're really having a little bit of a fixed mindset towards the end goal. And what I find that you then sort of get stuck in a lot of boundary setting as well. So my encouragement here is to think a little bit as you go into this new year about the cumulative effects of where you pause, how long you pause for, and what behaviors you're marking. Are these for the good of the herd? Are they thoughtful, aware, harmonious, peaceful? Or are they for the good of an individual where they're just exhibiting a behavior, a physical movement you want to be repeated? There's, of course, a time and a place for the physical behaviors, but I really think we should be enforcing the emotional development before we get into the physical behaviors. So I'm going to leave that there, short and sweet this week. I love you guys. I'm going to continue studying this week, and I will bring it all back to you next week, and we'll talk about all of this more. Thank you guys for joining me for tea time. Have a wonderful day, and hopefully that's some good food for thought.